Hi, back with you, having fun talking about guns. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk. It is a real pleasure right now to bring in somebody who I really appreciate all the effort, what he's been doing. John Correia from Active Self-Protection joins us. John, you were just down at Range Radio Studios messing around with Chris Serino. I watched what you guys did. That looked like fun.
We had a great time. I mean, what a fantastic crew, and man, they really do a great job of setting up real good force-on-force, and it was a super fun time.
But, and of course, for those who don't know, what you do is, well, you do a lot of training now. You review all sorts of videos from security cameras to body cameras to whatever, and say, okay, what happened here? Somebody was attacked. There was a self-defense deal. And in the process, it's like, what can we learn from this? And I would just say, from our first-person defender series of 10 years of doing that, the two things I hear the most are, number one, it happens so fast, and the other is, I never thought of that. What do you think?
We hear that all the time too. Yeah, I'm known for analyzing real-life defensive encounters caught on camera, body cams, and surveillance cameras, and from that, drawing evidence-based lessons so that we're more evidence-based in our stuff. You have to forgive me. I'm on a live shooting range here getting ready to teach a class this weekend.
I love it.
So, and that's what we hear from real people. We have a podcast where every week someone comes on and tells their real story of self-defense that they got into. And a lot of times, man, it happens so fast. I do get a good number of people that will email me and say, man, these things started going down, and I started hearing your voice in my ear telling me what I needed to do, and I did it, and it turned out good for me. So I think we're making a difference in making people's self-defense more evidence-based.
You know, to that point, is if you don't have a plan, you don't have anything to go to, you actually don't go to anything. You just are lost in the woods. But if you have any kind of training, if you have any kind of background, and the training can be at a range, or it could be watching your videos or listening to your podcast, at least you've got something in there. You will go to that. People say, well, you never know what you're going to actually do if you get attacked. And I respond with, if you don't have training, you don't know what you're going to do. But if you do have training, almost always you will go to your training. Is that what you find?
Absolutely. If you have a mental map in mind that this is something that I have the capacity to understand and capacity to deal with, because I have a mental map for that. I understand where I'm at and where I need to go, and that comes, whether that training is, mental training, physical tools, I can solve this shooting problem. Eli Dickens had to make a 43-yard shot, and your body won't go where your mind hasn't gone first. So if you have some training, you can do it.
In your work with lots of people now, are there trends that you find of things that people don't know or don't understand about self-defense with firearms?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of times it's really funny. It's a two-edged sword. There's a couple things. First of all, I think some people think if you're not John Wick with a gun, you have no hope. Whereas what really happens is I see untrained people defend themselves successfully with firearms all the time. Oftentimes, luck is a determinative factor in that, but,
sure.
Hey, it's a powerful, powerful tool, and it levels the playing field for people who are less strong, less fast. They're vulnerable for whatever reason. I think the other thing that I see all the time is that within our community, people misunderstand the law related to self-defense. It's a very established area of law. It's 1,200 years of common law. But people misunderstand when deadly force is acceptable, and we work pretty hard to educate folks every time it comes up on legal and moral self-defense, but, man, people struggle with those concepts sometimes.
What is it that they don't understand about it?
I think that I get a lot of pushback when I say we don't use deadly force to protect property, that life is inherently valuable, and so we use deadly force if we need to, if we don't have any other options to protect life, to protect human life in particular, but we don't protect property with deadly force. And, folks, I think are rightly tired of crime. I'm tired of crime too, and they think it's morally wrong for people to steal your things. Absolutely true. And then they say, well, if I kill a guy who's stealing stuff out of my garage, well, or out of garage, maybe a bad example, it's inside the home, but, out of my car or something,
right.
Then I say, listen, man, it's going to be an awful lot more expensive to fight that in court and to pay the lawyers than it is to pay the insurance deductible, and so folks just don't get that sometimes. And that for some reason they say, well, somebody doesn't have the right to take my stuff, so I can kill them for that. And that's just not true.
Well, no. And I tell people, look, just $100,000, pick that as your round number. It costs you $100,000 to pull the trigger. It may or may not, but that's not a terrible, it's not off. Now, the question is it worth it? Well, yeah, if the guy's trying to cut your head off and put it off the end of a stick, yes, it's absolutely worth it. Go ahead and do what you got to do. But if he's taking your TV, I'm going to hold the door open and say, hey, have a nice day. I'll call the insurance company and say, guess what happened to your TV?
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to kidnap your daughter, you drop that $100,000 and you go, of course, all day, every day.
Yes.
If he's going to kill your wife, yeah, absolutely, all day, every day. If he's going to steal your car, I mean, I was looking for a car when I bought that one. If he's threatening your life, then absolutely. So it's a pretty bright line. It's a pretty easy to understand line. Some folks just struggle to accept it.
Okay, let me take that and then put this in your head. You need, us, all of us need, and you talk about, the mind, the body won't go where the mind hasn't gone. You can do a lot of this in your easy chair by getting your mind right, by playing these scenarios in your head. What would I do if? What would I do then? I will listen to John. I will listen to Tom. I will listen to Chris Serino. I will channel them into that. And then when it actually happens, you go, okay, we'll just put it on automatic. Push the go button.
I love that idea. Obviously, you also have to have the skill set to pull off what your mind says you need to do. And an awful lot of folks, we think, especially men, right? We think we're really good at driving. We think we're really good at several other things, including trigger pulling and fighting. That maybe we could use a little bit more practice with it than we think. So having an attitude that says, I'm not going to be a victim, I think is number one. And we see that win an awful lot of gunfights. But then having a skill set that backs that up, that says, no, if I need to shoot that guy, I have the skills to end this threat definitively and quickly, because every gunfight is a competition. You're fighting against somebody, and it's your skills versus their skills. So, having a higher skill set is a good thing, and investing a little bit of time and a little bit of effort and having a robust skill set can pay big dividends. Without
a doubt. The other part of it is that I am captain of Team Runaway. I am very glad to be able to use my skill set to identify a situation that's developing and get out of there before it becomes a gunfight.
I always say your run fu is more powerful than your kung fu, and your kung fu is more powerful than your gun fu.
Absolutely. Look, the best gunfight is the one you don't get into. Say again?
Yeah, if you get stuck in a spot where I have no other alternative, where I have to use my gun or I'm going to die, then absolutely go to the gun fu. But if you can use the run fu instead, only a fool sticks around for a fight that he could avoid just to assuage his own ego. And every master I know, all the baddest gunfighters I've ever met, all of the serious martial arts masters, they don't want fights because they know that A, bad things happen in those. B, there's an element of chance you could possibly lose. And C, there's no reason to test your ego against somebody else's. Now, of course, you might get forced into one. Some dude, points a gun at your face trying to steal your car or mug you or whatever. Okay, well, you just got to go to work. But if you can avoid it, man, you'd be a fool not to.
Well, you talk about the skill set. Part of the skill set is knowing what to do, when to do it, and when not to do it. Talk about this concept that you have of waiting your turn.
Yeah, in an armed robbery in particular, this is the difference between a private citizen and a law enforcement officer. So if somebody pulls a gun on a cop who is acting as a law enforcement officer, in uniform, whatever, they're going to use that gun right now. Nobody pulls a gun and points it at the cops to threaten them. So if somebody points a gun at you, you just got to draw and go to work, or grab that gun and go to work if you're within range, or those things. Whereas a private citizen, somebody pulls a gun on you and says, give me your wallet, they're using that gun as an intimidation tool to try to get your compliance. Because, of course, if they just wanted you dead, they'd have just pressed the trigger.
Okay.
So what we see that sometimes gets people in trouble, though, is they go, oh, no, that guy's pointing a gun at me. I got to pull my gun out. And, of course, you drawing a firearm is slower than him pressing a trigger, and people get killed doing that. We call that drawing from the drop. So instead, we use a concept called purposeful compliance. and that is I'm going to wait my turn. It's not my turn to go. He's got his eyes on me and a gun on me. So if I try to draw a gun, he's in charge and he has the initiative. So instead, I have to look for my opportunity to launch my own ambush, or we call it a counter ambush, to wait for my opportunity. Usually that comes when he takes his eyes off me to go look at something else. And it does depend. We've got some evidence-based times that if my draw to first shot, so how long it takes me to get a gun out from the concealment that I use every day and get a shot on a high center chest or center of mass or something like that. And if you've got a 2-second draw to first shot, which you only know if you actually put it on the clock and on an accuracy standard, then he has to show you the back of his head, or he has to show you the side of his shoulder. If you've got a 1.5, then he has to show you his ear. He has to turn his head away from you far enough that you can see his ear. If you've got a 1.0, well, you're pretty well an expert at that point, and then he has to turn his nose and his eyes away from you. So knowing what your visual signals are, it's one of the things we teach on the channel when they show up in real videos pretty regular, is very important. And then having the emotional fitness in order to wait your turn is a critical component of surviving an armed robbery.
There's a story that just came out of Idaho. I love this. I don't know if you've seen this. 85-year-old woman, guy breaks into her house, handcuffs her to the chair, and he goes down to the basement to look for stuff. She drags her chair into her bedroom, gets her .357 Magnum out from under her pillow, drags her chair back, sits down. When he comes back, she plugs him twice.
I mean, you just cannot overestimate the power of an indomitable spirit.
It's so true. And part of that, we talk about this willingness or the determination to win, or I am not going to fail. I am not going to die here. I am going to fight my way through it. That will get you through a lot of stuff.
I mean, it really will. We say this, so the name of my company, Active Self-Protection, ASP, we say that there's an acronym there, first for attitude, then for skills, and then for plan. And attitude is number one in King. It always is an indomitable spirit, an unwillingness to be a victim that says, I can solve this problem and will prevail, is absolutely the overwhelming key to winning an armed encounter. Then a skill set, this is a skills competition when this goes down, and so sometimes that is a big thing. And then having that mental model, a plan that says, nope, I know when my turn is, I know what, the next steps are, how to put myself in a better place. Those are the kind of tactics and techniques and procedures that at the end of things, if the attitude and the skills are evenly matched, can mean victory.
You talk about the attitude. I remember Clint Smith saying, look, just because you got shot doesn't mean you're going to die. It just means you're in a real good gunfight. You can still win this thing. And that's part of that attitude. Absolutely.
We see plenty of people that are hit. And that actually works both ways. Just because you shot somebody who was a deadly threat doesn't mean he's done. So, and just because you're shot, modern trauma centers are like Hogwarts with lab coats. And that's a quote from the late, great William April. And these guys are wizards and gals, doing incredible work, saving lives. And so, okay, I'm shot. Whatever. If I'm still awake, if I still have consciousness, I'm still in the fight, can still win this. That if they get me to the trauma center with any blood volume whatsoever, I'll probably live. And that's again, that attitude.
Let me say this, John. People need to get rid of all that junk that's in their heads that was dumped in there from TV and movies and walking up and kicking guns and walking up to the bad guy and all that. And that's one of the things you do so well. It's like, why are you doing that? Why are you walking up to this guy who is a deadly threat to you right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they really love John Wick, is the modern version of that. The old school version would be Harry Callahan, and Make My Day, and Dirty Harry. And so that getting rid of that and saying that's not how real gunfights go. Hollywood is built for emotion and built for cinematography, not built for reality. So instead, we have this robust body now of actual gunfights that we can see and watch and analyze and say, how does it really go? And based on that, build evidence-based paradigms. And I think we've gotten a lot better in the last 10 years in the industry because of it.
I would agree. John, I would say, and I know you probably have heard this before, you are saving lives. What you are doing, people are actually living and surviving because of what they're learning from you. I cannot offer you more attaboys than that. It's just, I got to tell you, what you're doing is tremendous.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. We get messages like that, every week, and I'm super grateful for it. Just glad to be a part of helping people to protect their loved ones and themselves from criminal violence, and to just go live a good life, not just to be paranoid or, we're great with guns, but no, we want to go live great lives and influence our communities for good, and getting to help people do that is really gratifying work.
And the website, activeselfprotection.com?
That's me right there. You can find us on YouTube on Active Self Protection. Go to our website, activeselfprotection.com. Great place to find us.
John Correia, thank you so much. Hope you get back to Range Ready sometime.
All right. I'd love to. It was super fun. We'll get back there again soon, I promise.
Sounds good. All right. Get out to the range. Do some good.
Yes, sir.
All righty. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen his videos on YouTube, you owe it to yourself to spend some time over there. Because once you do, it's kind of like when you start watching First-Person Defender. You go watch one, then you watch another, and you realize after a while, you go, I've been here for an hour, and I'm just learning all the time.